Hello, hello, everyone. So we are back finally for another career and spirituality conversations. So I'm your host, Julie Pone, and I'm here to support spiritual seekers having a career experience to reconcile what they do for a living with who they are as a soul. And today, to help me with this mission, I'm honored to receive David Towns. Hi, David. How are you today?
Good, good. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited for this conversation. Uh,
Well,
yeah, you too.
thank you. Yes, nice to meet you and talk to you. Yes.
Yes, and thank you so much. I know it's very early for you, so guys who are listening, David has really, made some sacrifice on his sleeping time to meet us. So I appreciate that.
I'll make up for it tonight.
Okay, okay. And so before we start, as we always do, I'm gonna lead just a 2 minutes and a half little grounding. And so we can all get ourselves in the here and now. And when I say all, I mean mostly myself, probably. So for everyone, for those who can, just close your eyes. And first, let's be aware of the weight of our body, where we're sitting, and the weight of our feet on the ground. Maybe pressing our feet on the ground for a second and intending to ground ourselves and connect with the earth. And then bring our attention and focus back up into the area of our chest, and more precisely our heart. And we can place a hand over the heart or just listen in a little bit more deeply, hearing our heart or feeling our heart. And just imagining as if our breath is flowing in and out directly from our hearts. And for another minute, let's just breathe a little bit slower and deeper than we usually do in that heart connection. And last one. Okay, so whenever you feel ready, let's just bring ourselves back and open our eyes. And welcome back, Tana.
That
Dave,
was great.
yes, thank you for joining me today. So for the people who don't know you yet, David is the owner and moderator of Life After Life, which is the website that is dedicated to the works of Dr. Raymond Moody. And Dr. Raymond Moody was the founder of the near-death experience movement. So, and David is also the co-author of The Message of the Rose, which is an unpublished memoir about his friend Adam Fulford's near-death experience. So there's a lot to talk about. David, you're also, you've also been working in HR for 20 years. So like sorry, maybe not 20, I'm making this up right now.
A long time.
For a long time. And so like there's a lot, like a lot of interesting trajectories to discuss here. But first of all, I would love to know how do you position yourself with spirituality? What does it mean to you? What's your maybe even definition of it or relationship to it?
Sure. It having given that some thought over the years,
Yeah.
for me, spirituality it's really a way of life. It's a way of being in the world and how we live our day-to-day lives. I believe and I truly believe that it's non-denominational. So how we go about our day-to-day interactions with people, and to kind of contrast that with formal religion. I think religion is a formal worship of, say, a specific god or a set of beliefs. The music, the celebration, the fellowship, and the routine. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think it has its place, sure. And I think religion is what is taught to us, from an early age. Your parents say, you're a Catholic or you're a Muslim, and in a lot of ways, I don't know, it's kind of a programming. And to me, spirituality is more of an inner journey.
Yeah.
Saying to yourself, I really don't know. I know nothing. I'm open to learning. And how are my day-to-day interactions with people.
Yeah.
And I think that religion can certainly have its place, like I said, and our day-to-day interactions, but oftentimes it's a routine we do on Sunday or Saturday, and we don't really carry it over into the work week. We leave it behind at the church doors. But I think that to me, spirituality just a way of being in the world and how we conduct our day-to-day affairs.
Okay. Yeah, I resonate with that. And do you mind me asking, did you have a religious upbringing and then shifted into something different, or were you uh, um, religious less from the start? What's
And I certainly I want to preface that with, I really appreciate my upbringing. I'm very, very thankful for my upbringing. And it's interesting, a lot like Dr. Moody.
Yeah.
I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian
Oh, good.
family, grandparents, very fundamentalist. Fire and brimstone, you're gonna spend eternity in hell if you do this or that. And so, from an early age, I questioned that. It just didn't there wasn't something right about it for me personally. And fortunately, my father was in the military, and we spent some time over in Japan. And so I remember, and I say that in on the website, I talk about, for me, with school field trips to temples and seeing Buddha, statues of Buddha. And then I would come back to the States and we would visit the grandparents and we'd go to church and get, and so it was good, and it really made me question. It set me on the path of wanting to learn and wanting to know the truth with a capital T, as my friend puts it. So I'm thankful for it, and that was my impact. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So you as a kid being able to witness that not everybody had the same definition, religious definition, triggered some deeper questioning, it seems.
Well, yes, and now that I'm thinking about it, even living over in Japan, it was Buddhism, but it was also Shintoism, with many gods.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd come back to Kansas, to the States, and it wasn't of many gods, and you're like, well, what is, I'm 9 years old? What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always been, for me personally, a path of learning, a path of wanting to gain knowledge. It really has.
Yeah, I find it interesting as well that as a kid you did not, you questioned straight away. Because as a kid, I wasn't raised into a religious context at all. And it's only later on, way after, the ages where we, as a kid, we are soaking in information. And to me, it really felt, in hindsight, I could really see how, unless you're being fed, this information very young, then it's just a belief that like any other. And I didn't, as if it didn't get into my subconscious very early on, and I just couldn't really get, I was trying, but it was like learning history or or English. But
Right.
I wasn't so, often we say that, it's as children that really things soak in it and we really kind of grab the belief. So it sounded like, even though you were into that perfect environment to possibly embrace it as if true, yet you didn't, even as a kid.
No, correct. Yeah, and I guess probably a lot of reasons for that, but it just I've never, I joke I'm not the, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but it just didn't seem logical. And Dr. Moody and I have, he talks about that, and he and I have talked about it, and he's got a PhD in philosophy, and
Yeah.
and for him there just wasn't a logic to that thought process, that fundamentalist Christian.
Mhm.
Again, I don't want to bash it, but it just it
Yeah.
set me on a journey to
Yeah.
learn.
It obviously wasn't for you.
Well, true, true.
Yeah.
But in a way, I've come back too,
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
but we, yeah.
Did you have, I'm curious, did you have a phase, because I had a phase like that. Did you have a phase of rejection of everything religious and spiritual, because it was under the same umbrella, or not? It was just like an exploration and curiosity.
That's and thank you for asking that. I think I'm probably, the story I'm going to tell you is going to resonate for you and a lot of people, right? I write this in because I wrote the foreword, or not the foreword, but anyway, the preface.
Mhm.
And I remember being in school, and it was I distinctly remember the moment. It was a late Friday night, out doing what I do on Friday nights as a 24-year-old. And I went into a convenience store. I stopped in there late one night, and there was a clearly a homeless man sitting on the corner there, just his head drooped down and just his clothes a shambles. And I rejected God. I said, this can't be right. How can like a lot of people have gone through that, right? How can you do this? What's this loving God that you guys told me about? And so, yeah, I walked away from it for several years, or just, kind of rejected that there's a loving God out there that would let this happen. And so, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, it's part of a lot of people's journey. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us go through that.
Mhm. And so now to pivot a little bit into the professional. So what was your professional trajectory?
Well, it is interesting because at that time when that particular instance happened to me, I was in law school,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and I had no idea what being a lawyer was, but I wanted to go to law school and be a
yeah.
lawyer. And you talk about career paths and how life goes or changes on you. Things come up, and I'm not a confrontational, arguing kind of person. I'm more of a peacemaker, and you know that didn't take me a long time to figure out. But I got out and I realized this isn't for me. I don't want to do this. I want to, from an early age there, or at least in law school or afterwards, it was like, I want to help solve problems. I don't want to get in court and argue with people and try to make my point or win this case. I want to solve problems. I want to help people. And I've always had a fascination with the, employer-employee relationship, what makes a good manager, what motivates an employee, what makes a bad manager. Not that I have the answers. There's plenty of books out there on that topic, but that's always been a fascination to me, and so there's always been that, if I could just get in at the root level and solve these problems, that's much more satisfying and more suited to my talents,
Yeah.
but and I know we'll probably get into it, later, but I think that's part of the journey, that a lot of times you don't realize this till later in life, you fight and you resist. I want to be this, or I want to do that, or, I want to have this, and you're trying to squeeze it into something that you're really not. And, it didn't work out, and I'm happy for that. I mean, there's times I joke to myself, God knows what would have happened if I would have continued down that path of being an attorney. I'd be a real jerk, but
Uh,
but
Somehow I
but
doubt it, but
but it didn't work out, and I've been in human resources,
oh
and
yeah,
I find it very satisfying. Yeah.
your career as a joke didn't work out. Oh, so bad.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Leave that dream behind.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I knew that dream, yeah. Oh, and but when you set yourself up for, okay, I want to be a lawyer, was it you? Where did you get this idea from? Was that like a family context? Was it some pressure, like some influences? Did you convince yourself? How did that happen? Because that
You're
happened to me too, by the way.
you're really bringing up some old memories here.
Oh, sorry.
It's funny looking back on it. I wanted to stay in school. I didn't really want to get out of the real world. That's
Okay.
the truth. But I wanted to learn,
Okay.
and I thought, I never really contemplated what the practice of law would be like. And I think that's my advice to people. Do some research. But
Yeah.
anyway, I wanted to learn, and I thought, law school is going to teach me how to think. It's going to teach me how to critique things, read things, tear them apart. In retrospect, I think a master's degree in education would have, taught me the same things, of course, but I don't know. But I'm just, I think, I think, I admire people that have like degrees in communication or education. But I said, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to learn how to think and critique and reason and analyze things, because I just wanted to learn and learn more. I didn't think about what the actual practice of law would be like until I got out. So really that was the motivation. No family background, no, nothing like that. Just a desire to learn how to think and yeah.
Yeah, so at least you were like that was a genuine, like at least a personal, you were following a personal interest. It just so happened it didn't turn out the way you thought, but
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
So, and how did you, like, how far were you along when you caught up that you needed something else, and what put you onto this different path? Was it like, did you sit down one day, it's like, oh, this is not going to be for me, and thought your way through what else could I do? Or was it some opportunities or synchronicities, or was something placed on your path that sort of guided the way?
That is interesting, because I oftentimes, maybe we'll talk about how things come up in your life and you have this neat little plan, and obstacles or things come along to interrupt you. But I was about 4 years into it, and I was actually working at a law firm that did employment law and employment litigation. And, it was out in California, and, pretty litigious kind of setting and all. And it just, I don't know if it was a dawning one day, but maybe it started to started to sink into your subconscious. Like, is this any way to go through, these people, you've got an employee over here that's upset, you've got a management over here that's upset, and they're suing each other, or they're suing them, and what is that really accomplishing at the end of the day? What's going to come out of this? Nothing's good is going to come out of this. And so it was, what can I do at a root level, at the workplace setting? And so like I said earlier, really in college, there was an interest, like I said, in management. And I took, a bunch of management classes and HR type classes. And that was always kind of, what makes a good manager, what makes a bad manager. And so I was like, I can do better. I can get in and solve these problems and help out before it gets so divisive and litigious.
Yeah. It's funny because you nearly see, like, at the start of your story, it's like that, the same as a kid, like, questioning. It's like, well, this is not good enough, this is not working, like, what else is there, like, how else can I approach this? So, like, already, that same sort of, how your mind works and approaches a situation.
You
Yeah, so
should be a therapist. That's good. You're right. You're right. I never thought about that, but
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
and so that was the start of, like, so obviously the career that you've had up until now, right? Yeah. So, like, is that how you um went into HR, like, from, this reflection? At the time, where were you spiritually speaking at the time?
I was young, and I think that as I got into, early on, I think that I wanted the nice clothes, I wanted the nice car,
Yeah.
and be an attorney or a lawyer, and that, I don't know that it was upsetting to me or rubbed me the wrong way, but it just, no, I chased that for a few years, and then in HR, it just kind of slowly transitioned and started to dawn on me that this is not who I am. This just isn't comfortable. Right now I have a job where I go to work and I wear jeans and tennis shoes,
Yeah.
and I'm comfortable, and I interact with people that are just day-to-day people, that we're all trying to just get along in the
Yeah.
world kind of
Yeah.
thing, and I like that. I don't have to put on any, but that was a process. It took a while.
To go.
And on the spirituality side, really it was later in life that, I went through a series of personal challenges
Yeah.
and relationships. I'll admit it, failed relationships, and that was really what set me on the journey, or return to the journey, really, in retrospect. That was really a return to, all right, what am I doing here? And why are these things happening to me? So really it was later in life that just some bad things happened, and you start doing some soul searching kind of thing.
Okay. So can we talk a little bit about the soul searching part?
My favorite topic. Well, like I said, it was some personal challenges for me, and um, I certainly, at the time, you think, oh, I'm hitting rock bottom, but I look at other people in life, and people that have alcohol problems or drug and alcohol problems, and are really, really suffer from depression. And my my low point wasn't near as bad as a lot of people, but you know, for it's a low point. And so I started, you know, there was a relationship that, and I will say, I'm an amateur psychologist, trust me on this, but you know, in retrospect, I was in a clearly codependent relationship. I mean, you know, we were just horrible for each other, and that ended, and oh, my life's over, this is horrible. And and quite honestly, I it's really weird. You know, when you talk about synchronicities and things coming into your life, I picked up a local newspaper, and on the very back page, I don't know what you have over in Europe, but it wasn't like the main publication. It was like your underground newspaper. And on the back page was, you know, Dr. Wayne Dyer at Mile High Church in Denver. Yeah. And that's really what started it.
Yeah.
And you know, I went to see him and I started reading his books.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that I do believe that I think we're all on a spiritual journey, right? I believe that. And I don't think that's anything news to a lot of people, but you know, we may not know it, we may not acknowledge it, we may fight it, and not what we want to do at the time, but I think we're all on a spiritual journey. And you know, I use the word God, but you know, if that offends people, then I say, well, say, you know, your source or divinity or self with a capital S or truth or love, you know, so whatever word you want to use for that. And so, you know, over the years, you know, it's like I think every day, every decision we make, I think what we do can either move us closer to God, the truth, or we can move away from that. We move closer to the light or towards the darkness. And maybe that's our free will that we have, you know, is, you know, what are we doing? Are we moving, are our decisions taking us closer to the light or further away from the light? And so, anyway, I got carried away there, but I went to see Wayne Dyer, and then, you know, I started reading his books, and then you know, he would mention a book in his book, you know, he would cite or quote a book or a teacher, and then I'd go read that teacher or that book, and it just snowballed from there, you know, it really did. And I'm thankful for that. I'm who would have thought, you know, the back page of an underground newspaper, you know, $15 ticket to go see Wayne Dyer speak. And it changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's often like that, something simple and that triggers, like, you know, another thing and another thing, and next thing you know, your whole arm is gone into the
Yeah,
wheels. Yes.
yeah, yeah. I like the saying, you know, how far down to the rabbit hole do you want to go?
Yeah, yes,
So,
yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
and so when you started, like when this journey started for you, what did it change or not on the professional front? Did you see yourself approaching your work life in any different light, or was it somehow two separate entities somehow?
You know, yeah, and I think a lot of this, a lot of our lifetime or journey is just learning stuff when you get a little bit older, you know. And at first they were kind of separate, sure. Um, and you know, it took a while, or it's taken a while to really kind of integrate that. And I think, you know, for anybody, for a lot of people out there, you know, people that watch your podcast, or any, you know, anybody that's paying attention, um, you know, doing that on a day-to-day basis is so difficult, so difficult. You get wrapped up in the just, you know, just yesterday, you know, there was an issue came up at work, and I'm finding myself in my office about ready to scream, you know. So it's hard. It's really hard, and you know, it takes a conscious effort, and it certainly, like I said, yeah, at first they were separate kind of things, you know, I'd go to work and then go home and read books or go to a retreat, you know, and then the retreat would last for a couple days and everything would be great. And I'd come back to work and,
Ugh.
you know the story. Everybody knows the story. And so I think to maybe get ahead of ourselves a bit, but I think that you know, like I said, yeah, you read books, go to teachers, watch lectures, YouTube now, your stuff. It's all, you know, how do I integrate that? And so you start making a conscious effort. And I think for me, it's been, you know, taking one or two key concepts,
Mhm.
you know, and we're not, you know, we're not going to be saints like Jesus or Buddha or Krishna yet. You know, if you are, you're not going to work.
Yeah.
But but to take one or two key concepts and how do I integrate that? But I think also really, you know, admitting to yourself that you're a human being
Yeah.
and these things are going to happen. Everybody knows getting cut off in traffic. You know what that does to you. You know if someone's rude to you at the grocery store,
Yeah.
you know it sets you off. But to slowly take that one or two key things and just really internalize them and bring them into your life. But again, you're a human being. Someone's going to come into your office and say something that's going to, you know, set you off.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as we can use the work environment or like, you know, day-to-day life as Jedi training for, you know, spiritual growth. But like, yeah, it's bound to happen. But I see it sometimes as like maybe that's the whole point of being in this experience, is to play with that polarity and experience with like towards the light, toward the dark, and to be mad at your boss and then to meditate your way out of your anger, or like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because that's what I was thinking when I started answering or thinking about your, you know, what I was going to say was that you know, yeah, at first they were separate for me,
Yeah.
spirituality and work and what I was doing and how I was interacting with people, and weekends are great, nights are great. And then I think for me in my where I'm at, you know, my journey now is that, you know, to be more aware, to be more cognizant of those reactions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a human being and I know that the person yesterday irritated me and I screamed and, you know, it got upset, but now I'm more aware of my reaction and I'm more, you know, aware of how I internalize that or how I interpret that.
Yeah.
And, you know, certainly I'm not going to be that way in front of an employee or with a coworker or my boss, you know, but if something upsets me now or there's an issue that tests me,
Yeah.
I'm more aware of it. I'm more, it's more, you know, out there. It's like, okay, examine this, look at this. Why did I have this reaction? And what is it? You know, why did I let that person affect me? So yeah, I think that's kind of the neat thing, you know, coming along, coming along, coming along. I'm not, you know, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm getting there, trying to someday, but at least now it's more in the forefront,
Okay.
right? Like it's like you're saying, yeah.
And throughout your career, because I know for some people sometimes it's a question of, okay, I can't deal with this job, but I can maybe, you know, once we discover the spiritual side or get, you know, personal development, and that there can be like a conclusion that, oh, I need to get out of this, you know, this job or this career and like do something more spiritual, maybe. And at any stage in your career, did you ever feel you know, have a fleeting thought of, oh, I'd rather quit that completely, you know, that the very materialistic side of life, to try and have a career that is more grounded in what your interest in spirituality or personal development, or was it never occur to you?
And not really. I mean, there were no, yeah, there were times like I used to do, I mean, not I guess in my mind at least, it was more spiritual and not more helpful to, right now I'm in an industrial setting. I work in a kind of a manufacturing type of environment, but years ago I worked at a hospital as an HR person, manager. And, there's been times over the years I thought, that might be more fulfilling for me, but I think, and sometimes I used to think about maybe going back into the hospital. I remember years ago there was a HR manager position at Shambhala, and they're out of northern Colorado, and I thought about that as I thought, well, maybe when I get a little bit older, or maybe when I retire, I'll join the Peace Corps or something.
Yeah.
But it's funny how I guess, I don't know, for maybe a lot of your listeners, viewers, but for me, it's just kind of been things have happened, and I'm a couple years away from retirement, but now life after life came along, and now I'm moderating that. So it's almost like, well, is this my transition into my later years? It almost seems like that. And I didn't plan it. I didn't purposefully try to manifest it or make it happen. But it just seems like, all right, I'm a year or two away from retirement. Now this has come into my life, and it's, certainly a fulfilling aspect to it. But HR is fulfilling too. Certainly, don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. I really do. I enjoy interacting with employees and managers and supervisors. There's satisfaction to that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting how things just have happened in my life like that.
But so that's a great, segue, because that's such an interesting aspect. So how did that happen? How did you, and what does that mean now for your next chapter?
Right, the next chapter. I mean, it's interesting. I joke about, oh, it's a long story. So, Adam, our memoir is about 220 pages long. So it's a long story. Or
Wow.
maybe 210. I don't know. Anyway, 210 pages. But, Adam and I have been friends for around, well, we met in 2003. So about 20 years now that we've been friends. And, I'm sure we don't have time to get into the whole long story of that, but we're very good friends, and I know that there's a connection that goes back many years before this, and so he had his near-death experience, and I was like, you gotta. Well, we started talking first after it happened, and trying to help him process it and understand it.
Yeah.
And I said,
So
well,
in
right,
what year was it that he got this experience?
2017
Oh,
is when,
2017. Okay.
yeah,
And you knew each other from 2003?
2003 when we
Okay.
started working together. Yeah, we were working at the same place. And I said, you got to start writing me letters, get processed, because I knew that writing was cathartic. I knew it was healing, And I said, write me letters and just, get it out of your system, help process it and understand it. And then I started reading his letters, and he's very artistic. His, his art and his poetry and his writing was really good. And so after a while, I'm like, man, this is really bizarre. Maybe we have a book here. So then I got in touch with Life After Life with Lisa and Paul Perry were over at Life After Life, and I got a hold of them and started working with them on the book. And then Lisa Smart was helping Raymond out for many years, helping him write some, with the editing his books and proofreading and so forth. And then she had some, other things that she wanted to work on, some personal family things and her writing and book coaching. And she said, around December, January, do you guys want to buy life after life? And it's like, sure, why not? You know, totally unplanned, totally unplanned. So it's just been weird how that's worked out. And so for me, like I said a few minutes ago, you know, it's like, well, this kind of seems to be the next chapter, you know. If we, you know, hopefully get Adam our book published, but carrying on Raymond's work and other folks in the near death, and it seems to me that, and I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but from reading, I haven't read, like, there's, you know, there's a lot of near death experience books out there. And it seems to me that our knowledge, our understanding is really growing, expanding. You know, we're now there's a lot of research on shared death experiences.
On
And
sorry, what?
on
On
shared death experiences,
shared.
how,
Oh, okay.
so say, for example, you have a relative that's on their deathbed, and you've got family members over there, and the friend or relative passes, and 3 or 4 or 5 people in the room witness, you know,
Oh, wow.
certain events happening, and so those are called shared death experiences. So, you know, that seems to be a growing field as well. And I haven't read a lot of this because I'm really getting into it, but you know, there's hospice care workers, you know, people that work in nursing homes or hospice care that are saying the same thing. They've witnessed certain things happen as people die. So it's not your own personal near death, but you know, you're participating in it or you're watching this happen.
Yeah.
So I think that, and there's other, you know, there's other things going on. So I really believe that our knowledge and understanding of this phenomena, whatever you, however, you know, I think it's growing, it's expanding, you know. I early on as a fundamentalist Christian, you know, the idea of reincarnation was unheard of
Okay.
for me, you know, and you say, well, what's karma? Well, what's the difference between karma and you reap what you sow? So uh, so now I'm you know, more accepting of reincarnation, and now we, you know, near death experiences, shared death experiences, and hypnosis for past life regression.
Yeah.
I think we're really learning a lot more these days, and it's fascinating to see what's out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, life after life is an opportunity to, you know, carry on that and help expand that and bring that knowledge out to people. Um,
Yeah, there's also more people than we think who have had near-death experiences, or maybe for me it's like when you buy a yellow car and after that you see yellow cars everywhere. I don't know,
right.
but now I'm just
Well, yeah, I asked Raymond that, Dr. Moody, I was like, I think it's just because of the internet, you know, but he thinks that more of the other side is creeping into our world. They're making their presence more and more felt here. So, you know, for example, now, and I'll have to think about how I really feel about this, but it's communicating. You know, there's a lot of mediums out there that say, you know, communicate with relatives that have passed. I'm not, you know, I have my thoughts on that, but that seems to be a growing field or a growing area of interest as well. So there's a lot more books, there's a lot more people out there on that. So yeah, it's a fascinating time. So yeah, is the other side making their presence more and more felt here on Earth? And you know, there's no doubt that there's so many things going on in the world, you know, political wise, unrest wise, and however, you know, I'm not into politics or news all that much, but it seems like we're at a really interesting time in the world. But you know, maybe we've always been at an interesting time in the world.
yeah, possibly. Yeah, that's very true. You know, I wonder, like, you know, when you think about the span of events that we like, you know, in such short lifetime that we've witnessed, even just the technology wise, I mean, it's crazy, but maybe that's what it takes to vary to vary our human experience, uh, enough to get what maybe we came out to get as a spiritual being. I don't know. Actually, what's your take on that? Do you think, with all of your experiences, your knowledge about life after life, your experiences with Adam, as a how does it work? Are we out there, spiritual beings, and decide, okay, I'm gonna just have a go at this roller coaster called Earth and life and human life? And do we come in with a sort of a plan, or do we have like a total free will, or like what's your take on this?
It's interesting because, and again, I haven't read all the near-death experiences out there, but having read what I have read, and really Adam's experience is very unique in a lot of ways, as you know, but
Yeah.
it really confirms a lot of what people have already said.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name. I'm reading a book right now on a gentleman PhD that would do hypnosis and talk kind of, well, it's called there's called past life regression, where
Okay.
you can go look at past lives, and that's a whole nother topic. But what Adam saw, and what a lot of other people have said in their NDEs, is we kind of plan out our next life.
Okay.
What Adam said, and was very solid about this. I was going to say adamant, but
Yeah.
but other people have said we choose our next life, but we really just, it's the generalities. What lessons do I need to learn?
Okay.
It's not that we pick out the specifics, like, oh, I'm going to get a divorce or have cancer, but we pick out the generalities of that life, and it's kind of based on what lessons do I need to learn. And it's, I always found it fascinating. My mom used to say, oh, God's not going to give you anything more than you can handle.
Yeah.
And then I'd be angry at that comment, but if you think about it in the context of, well, all right, I chose to be here, and I chose this family or this set of relatives to be around, and I wanted these lessons to come into my life. And I think that's where, not I think, I believe that's where karma comes in. All right, there's some things I need to pay back,
Yeah.
and I want to pay this back. And that's why, in a lot of ways, and this is coming from my heart, I really respect and admire Adam for if he chose what he chose to go through. Good Lord, man, I respect the heck out of you for choosing this path that you chose.
But
Um,
maybe, do you mind, like, because like I've read about Adam, but not everyone. Maybe like,
yeah, I'm sorry.
what can you say, that will get our audience, like clued in a little bit?
A teaser. Well, it's because what we've wrestled with is how does this come across to other people,
Yeah.
and I maybe I preface all of this with, he made his choices, he made his decisions, and he knows that, he
Yeah.
understands that. Did you know uh, uh, it started out as maybe drinking or smoking marijuana or having a joint now and then, um and then things got worse. Okay, his drug and alcohol addiction got worse, and people will say, well, he's the one that brought this on himself. Well, he did.
Mhm.
And so that led to other things, and he started having run-ins with the police.
Yeah.
And at that time we lived in different towns, but we were living in northern Colorado, and he was living in a small college town, and yeah, the police picked on him.
Yeah.
They really did. I won't deny that. But things went downhill, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But he made his decisions, and the drugs got worse, and then the crime got worse. And it's part NDE, part true crime, right? His story. Thankfully, no one got killed. I will say that.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of police chases in there. There was hiding out there. And this is probably where I'll try not to tear up, but you know, so there was a police chase at 90 miles an hour, and he crashed a car. And again, thankfully, no one in the other car was hurt, like a broken arm.
Okay.
Still traumatic and not forgivable, but the police dragged him out of like 4 or 5 of the cops pulled him out of the car, the wreckage. It had been raining, snowing the night before, and they dragged him over to the side of the by the gutter and threw him face down on the pavement. And three of them are kneeling on his back, and another one, because he's crying out in pain because he's got a broken hip and a broken femur from the wreck. And one of the cops kneels on the side of his face and forces his head under the running water, and he drowned. Yeah. So, and he drowned. So it was, and that started his near-death experience. And so I don't know where we were going with that, but all that to say that he really, in my mind, I think verified a lot of what NDE experiencers have already written about, that you pick out your life, you pick out the generalities of it, you pick what you need to learn, and we're here to work off our karma. We're here to work off our karma, and if we are not aware, self-aware, or not paying attention to what we're doing, we have that free will to, are we going to move closer to the light or further to the darkness, or closer to the darkness? And so we have decisions to make in this lifetime as well. And so are we going to incur more bad karma? Or are we going to accrue more good karma?
Yeah.
I know that sounds so strange in a lot of ways, but
so in a sense, it just dawned on me that, like, a change of, you could say, bad choices, but at the worst of his journey, he saw that's when he's of a journey where you could say is accumulating bad karma, probably. He's he has that traumatic, terrifying experience that has the positive impact to actually give him the keys to actually resolve all of this first part of his life. It's
yes,
because I mean, he's been making like how, well, actually, how has that changed him? Like, what's been the impact? Because I understand that it's been drastic.
Yeah, I mean, he is in prison now. He is in prison, and he's serving a prison sentence. Ironically, he's right now he's working in there's the prison that he's at is a mental health facility. So you have like dementia and Alzheimer's patients on one floor, and then at the top floor you have the really, so if you chop up someone and kill them and you claim insanity, you're going to go to this facility. And so he's working as kind of a nurse's aide. He's taking care of the dementia and Alzheimer's patients. And so he's working as a nurse's aide and taking care of mostly elderly men with dementia and Alzheimer's. And it really gives him an opportunity to give back. And we don't have time to go into it, but there were certain things that happened to him during his near-death experience. As far as, and there are a lot of people that come back from near-death experiences with psychic abilities or healing abilities, things like that. And so similarly for him, but just the opportunity to take care of people and care for them. Some of them are, dying, but what was I going to say? I think, well, the other part was, again, just really verifying what a lot of people have already said about NDEs, and oh yeah, well, you know, there almost one of the components or facets of NDEs has always been the life review,
Okay.
you know, and what's interesting about Adam's story is, and I've read I haven't read the books, but other people have accounted that, you know, for Adam, he had multiple life reviews of multiple, he was reviewing multiple lifetimes, not just this last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he had to live through many life reviews.
Okay.
And that's kind of what's unique about his story. And that's why I said, we gotta get this out there.
Mm.
But so it was multiple life reviews and really understanding, really verifying what a lot of mystics or sages or teachers have said before, like Ramana Maharshi, for instance, said, you know, we create our heavens and hells by our lustful greed, anger. You know, we create our heavens and hells. And that's what Adam saw.
Wow.
And so, you know, for me, one of my takeaways is I don't think that we should live our lives in fear, and you know, we never leave the house or never turn on the computer, right? You know, we shouldn't live our lives in fear, but I think to be cognizant of aware of what we're doing, be it in the workplace, be it in our personal relationships. And for me, one of the greatest passages or teachings was, you know, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
And how many of us can do that? You know, I mean, honestly, a little soul searching is like, and early on in my life, it's like, well, I don't even love myself. How can I love my neighbor? You know?
Yeah. I was gonna
So, you know, and there's, you know, everyone says, well, everything in life is physical, mental, and spiritual. You know, so take care of yourself, take care of your body physically. And if you need therapy, get therapy. Mental, you know, if you need your diet, your nutrition, and mental and spiritual, find a teacher, find a path that resonates, that you resonate with, and go down that path. But how does that all, you know, so anyway, oh yeah, back to live, you know, love your neighbors, you love yourself. I think that for me early on, it was learning to love yourself and learning to accept yourself for who you are, and being brutally honest and honest inner self-examination, and then try to move into learning to love your neighbor. And, you know, okay, I've got relatives I dearly love, I have friends I dearly love, and then the guy at work that just really set me off yesterday. So how do I get there? And admitting to yourself, you're a human being with human emotions, you know, and just again, like I said earlier, for me, it's bringing that to the forefront, bringing that awareness to the forefront, and saying, okay, I know I got angry, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah,
And
that was all over the place, wasn't it?
no, that's great. No, because I don't know, you probably won't have an answer to that, but are we, as I'm listening to you, that pops into my head, are we set to come back, to keep coming back endlessly? Or is there a point that at some stage, I don't know, either we got, I don't know, some sort of an upgrade, or do we get out of this?
No, great. No, I
No?
love that so much. No, thank you for asking. And we didn't have time to get into it, but when I went to see Wayne Dyer at Mile High Church in Denver, that led me to another spiritual teacher who you know, they say in Hinduism, you know, you have to claim this person as your guru or your teacher. So my teacher, he's passed away now, but he was in Sedona, Arizona for a number of years.
Mhm.
And you know, I used to go to his lectures and read his books and all. So it's without taking up too much time, you know, while I, you know, I say I believe we're on a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And so, you know, not I believe, but my understanding is, yes, every lifetime is an opportunity to grow your consciousness awareness, to raise your level of awareness consciousness. And so this may take many lifetimes, right? And so, you know, really, when you look at our world, you say at a certain level, I don't want to judge, at a certain level, you have people like Hitler and Mussolini or bin Laden, and then, you know, the serial killer or the pedophile. And then you have people that are the scientists and the mathematicians, and then the mystics and the sage and the teacher, and then you've got Jesus and Buddha and Krishna. And so, what is your goal? What is your purpose? What do you want? And I think we're all on a journey to want to or try to attain that. But you have the option to turn your back on that. You have the option to say, no, I'd rather be with these guys, you know? And I think that's part of our free will with this, which is a whole nother discussion, right? But you have that opportunity to move closer to the light or further away from the light. And I remember my teacher saying, you get to that level, and he made a joke because I remember a lecture where someone asked kind of the same question, does this ever stop?
Yeah.
And he said, once you reach a certain level, and he laughed, there are many things to sign up for on the other side. So there's many, and so that brings us to, do you believe in angels or archangels, And so, yeah, I think you keep progressing in consciousness. So, what is Jesus and Buddha doing now? What are they up to?
Yeah,
And,
yeah, well, yeah.
so I think we keep our consciousness keeps expanding, and I think there does come a point in time when you don't have to reincarnate. You've worked off your karma,
Okay.
right? You've worked off your karma, you've paid all your dues back, and you've lived that out and worked that all out. And then you don't have to reincarnate anymore. You've reached that level of an avatar. And so then, as my teacher would say, yeah, there's plenty of things to sign up for on the other side.
Yes, you're just changing. Yeah, you just get a new position in the in the company.
Well, right. I mean, it goes back to loving your neighbors, you love yourself, right? There comes a point in time when it's about serving your fellow man and fellow human being,
Yeah.
right? And what can I do to help them grow and learn, and et cetera?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Well, I mean, I know that we could keep, like, I would have 100 more questions, but I know I'm conscious of the time.
Sure.
So, so is there anything that maybe I haven't asked you that, that was important for you to express?
No, I mean, I'm really glad that we got to love yourself, love your neighbors, you love yourself. I thank you for that because and again, I think I believe you have to find a teaching or a teacher that you resonate with,
Okay.
and follow that. And I love that passage because I think that's where I'm at personally, is trying to learn unconditional love, and get to that point where I can love unconditionally. But I think admitting to yourself that you're a human being, that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have emotions. But in the work related realm, I think, it's been on your podcast, and people have said, follow your bliss, find what your passion is. And I think what's worked for me has been, find one or two concepts like treat people with dignity and respect, or trying to learn to love people unconditionally. And I'm not always going to be able to translate that into my work world, but I'm going to try. I'm gonna bring that into my awareness, and really make a solid effort to do that on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's great, like concluding on, like, concrete, advice for people. And one last thing, what can we wish you both for, for your new chapter with life after life, also for the memoir, what if there is an appeal that we can make, like today, that would be, like serving you for any of it, what would that be?
Well, thank you. I mean, of course, we would love to get the book published, but that'll happen when and if it's supposed to happen. But I think send thoughts and positive prayers, affirmations that there's guidance to run life after life, because I'm, new to this, and trying to listen to the universe and listen to what people, the universe is trying to tell me. And so any sort of guidance as far as, what's next for life after life, where can we take that as far as what people need to learn or want to learn, or, without forcing my beliefs on people, but, what do people need from life after life, as far as information, education, growth, learning, like what you're doing, like what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we can have another conversation specific about, what do you want to get out there, and maybe like life after life messages and wisdom. If you want to, to share that, that would be
Yeah. No,
pleasure.
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I have suspicion, like, a lot of people would like to hear about that. So that's really
No,
well. Well,
thank you
thank you
very,
so
very
much.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much, David, for spending this time with me this morning, this very early morning for you.
It's almost time. Yeah, no, it's good. It's all good.
And so I'm gonna say goodbye, everybody, and I shall see you for the next career and spirituality conversations. And in the meantime, everyone, look after yourself, and I love you. Bye.